Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my reviews once again. Today we'll be reviewing the classic movie Cape Fear of 1991, and release date was November the 15th of that year. It was billed as a psychological thriller. So let's check out the back cover, see what the back cover's got to say. So, master filmmaker Martin Scorsese brings heart-pounding suspense to one of the most acclaimed thrillers of all time. 14 years after being imprisoned, vicious psychopath Max Cady, Oscar winner Robert De Niro, emerges with a single-minded mission to seek revenge on his attorney, Sam Bowden, Nick Nolte. Cady becomes a terrifying presence as he menacingly circles Bowden's increasingly unstable family. Realising he is legally powerless to protect his beautiful wife, Oscar winner Jessica Lange, and his troubled teenage daughter, Danielle Juliette Lewis, Sam resorts to unorthodox measures which lead to an unforgettable showdown on Cape Fear. Visually stunning images and brilliant performances from a talented cast highlight this roller coaster ride through relentless psychological torment. So there you go, guys. This is my DVD version. It's got some bonus material there, a rundown of the cast as usual, all the different languages that are available, and it's an 18, not suitable for young persons, suitable for 18 years and over. There you go. It's got the fit for viewing sticker there. A great picture of Max Cady on the back. So that's the front cover. Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, Jessica Lange, Martin Scorsese film, Cape Fear, and it's got those demented eyes of Max Cady and a picture of Samuel Bowden's torn family. So, very good movie. Once again, this is one of those films I can watch again and again. I keep going back to. I do like them sort of these old movies, so these reviews are sort of some of my sort of favourite things to review. So, what have we got with this movie? It's billed as a psychological thriller, and it's a remake of the 1962 classic Cape Fear, starring Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck, who actually make appearances in this version, and I'll go into that in a little while. So it's based on a novel, which a lot of films are, and it was The Executioners by John D. MacDonald. And again, it was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's a long movie, 2 hours, 8 minutes. It is a bit long, but I think to fit in what they needed to, it did need to be that long. It's got some excellent music. The music in this is so haunting. Very, very good. And well composed. It really fits the film. There's some mysticism in this film. Like I say, it's a psychological thriller. So some of it you have to ask: is it in the mind of Bowden? What is some of the stuff that he's seeing, or is it really happening? Like there's some scenes where it's a little bit. You look at it and you think, well, what's actually going on here? But yeah, it's a good movie. It's got a great cast, very strong cast. So let's talk Nick Nolte, who plays Samuel Bowden, known as Sam in the movie, but he's announced as Samuel Bowden in court. He was known for 48 Hours, wasn't he? I really liked him in Three Fugitives. I thought he played a really good part in that as the tough guy, you know, who had to look after the little girl Meg, wasn't it? I really liked the Three Fugitives. I thought it was a great 80s movie, very feel-good movie. I also thought he played a good part as Dr. Banner's father in the Hulk of 2003. I really liked that Hulk. A lot of people didn't like it, but I really liked that Hulk movie. I like the whole connection to the reptiles and stuff like that. I thought that was really, really good. But it didn't get great press, but I did like it. Also, obviously, you've got the great Juliette Lewis, who plays Danielle Bowden, his daughter. Obviously, she's a great actress, isn't she? She was fantastic in Natural Born Killers. I really liked her role in that. She really played a wild girl in that, didn't she? And that was really good. One of my Christmas favourites, Christmas Vacation. She played the daughter, didn't she? And she played a very good role in that when she was freezing in the at the beginning in the snow. I always remember that when he's going out to get the family tree, weren't it? The Griswold family tree, and she's there freezing. He's saying how beautiful the tree is, and she's standing there on an icicle. Really funny. And obviously, she played a great part in From Dusk Till Dawn, which was absolutely epic, wasn't it? Movie. I'd like to review that actually at some point. Very good film. She's a very good actress. You had Sam's wife, who was played by Jessica Lange. She plays the part as Lee Bowden, and she was famous for the role in the Postman Always Rings Twice, wasn't she? So she's actually a very good actress as well, and she plays a good part in this as well, with her obviously her family breaking down and the past treatment of her, the way she's been treated by Sam, and her life breaking down, and Sam's sort of quite a dishonest character in this, even though he's a lawyer and he seems like an upstanding member of society. He's actually got quite a lot of skeletons in his closet, and he's quite dishonest at points in the movie, which is brought out quite well in the movie. But she plays the wife, so it's very good. And then obviously you've got the great Robert De Niro, who plays Maximilian Caddy, and the opening scene at the beginning of him doing the dips. He's got that amazing physique, hasn't he? In this, he's just ripped, isn't he? You can see he's like made of steel, and he's served his 14 years of his hard labour, and he's in great shape. And obviously Robert De Niro, I mean, really must have prepared for this role, because he looked amazing. And his past movie credits, you can't deny his acting ability. Taxi Driver, he played that amazingly, didn't he? I liked him in Heat. I thought he was really good in Heat, as that calculated bad guy in Heat. He was very much known for all his gangster movies, wasn't he? He did a lot of the old sort of mafia style sort of movies, didn't he? As sort of like mob roles and stuff like that. And he always played very good in those parts, didn't he? As like a enforcer or a tough guy, or as a don or whatever. He met the role, didn't he? But he's also got that comical side, hasn't he? Which he portrays so well. Like when he did Meet the Parents, wasn't it? He was brilliant in that, wasn't he? Meet the Parents. And you can't fault him for his acting ability. So Meet the Parents, it was just so funny, wasn't it? The scene with the lie detector and Mr. Jinx the cat, and so many. And the sequel, the sequels were really good as well, weren't they? With the little canty sheriff with the taser. Stand down, he's going, wasn't he? Then he said, "What are you going to show me next? Your bus pass?" When he shows him the retired CIA badge, doesn't he? So it's good. It's great comedy. So De Niro, he's an all-round actor, isn't he? So you can't really fault his acting ability. So he's very good. You had appearances from Robert Mitchum, and he plays the lieutenant in this version, a police lieutenant who's trying to help Sam Bowden. But he actually played Max Cady in the 1962 original, and I think him and De Niro's do a very similar performance as him, because like I say, Robert Mitchum was always in great shape as well for his films, so he looked in good shape as well as Cady. And a scene of him in the original, the 1962 version, him running into the private eye who's played by Telly Savalas, the late great Telly Savalas, who's no longer with us anymore either, is he plays the private eye, and it's exact similar scene to this Cape Fear is to the original, when he bumps into him and he tries to warn Cady off of leaving Bowden alone, and you can see that Mitchum's character of Cady is not afraid at all. Quite intimidating, even in front of the great Telly Savalas, who was an intimidating character, in movies. Telly Savalas was, he was the movie tough guy, weren't he? But Robert Mitchum, again, was another tough guy. And them two eye to eye, playing the Private Eye and Max Cady was brilliant in 1962. And it also starred Gregory Peck, another great actor from Omen and other great films. He actually played Lee Heller in this version, who's the lawyer or the prosecutor that's going after Bowden. And he actually played Bowden in 1962. So Gregory Peck played Sam Bowden, and then in this version he plays the lawyer Lee Heller, who's going after Sam Bowden. So it was great to see them in this. And obviously, people that aren't no longer with us no more in this movie. So it is quite sad, you say, when you do these reviews and a lot of these people aren't no longer with us anymore. So you've also got the late John Don Baker, who played the Private Eye in this version. Joe Don Baker was like a regular in 80s TVs and films, and he was in a few of the Bond movies and stuff like that. He always played a very good sort of tough guy, play a rough, gruff detective, or he'd just play around just a general tough guy in the movies. But he was very, very good actor, and starred in a lot of films, so he was very, very good. Well worth watching this. So this movie we're going to concentrate on is this version. So what is this story about? This story is about revenge. It's about justice. It's about how revenge can consume you. It's about how your lies can catch up to you. There's a lot of different things in this movie. There's a lot about how, as a teenager you make mistakes, you don't realise what you're actually getting into, and your parents give you advice because they've been there, they know. It's not the case they're just saying it, it's because they've been there and they know, and that is why a lot of parents give advice. And it's about being a teenager and listening to your parents and why you should listen and the things you should listen to, and you don't know best and stuff like that. But also, it's like I say, vengeance. How vengeance can consume you, how it can take you over, and you won't be yourself no more. You only see one thing and one thing only. So let's get into the actual movie itself. So the movie is set around the lawyer Samuel Bowden. And Samuel Bowden is a high-flying lawyer. And I think at this point he's a prosecutor. But back then he was then in defence. Now, what we think of defence lawyers is not great sometimes, because obviously they've got to defend the worst of the worst, no matter what they've done, isn't it? Or what we believe they've done. And it goes back to the old adage, doesn't it, that everybody's got a job to do. Now, Cady, who is obviously played by Robert De Niro, has just finished a 14-year stretch. And he has spent his 14 years training, thinking of only his defence lawyer, which is Sam Bowden. But in that 14 years, he's also learned the law. He's studied it inside out because he's had time. He's had nothing but time on his hands, and he's realised how he can make the law work for him. And this is a true movie of Because you hear people all the time, don't you, say, I know the law, I know my rights, I know the law. But they don't really, do they? And a lot of it is that you think, well, no, that's not right, because, you know, what you're saying there isn't correct. But in this movie, it's an example of what happens when somebody really knows the law inside out. I.e., when you end up in that courtroom and you're with a defence solicitor or a prosecutor that knows the law inside out, and they slowly but surely start pulling you apart because you don't really know the law. And that's what this movie is based on. Max Cady in this movie knows the law, and he's just served 14 years. Imagine the bitterness of that. So basically, like, going back to the story again, 14 years ago, Max Cady committed horrific crimes against a young girl, and without going into too much detail, he got convicted, found guilty, and served his 14-year sentence. However, the story starts to break down when Bowden, who was then his defence attorney, had evidence that could have got his client a reduced sentence, or maybe even thrown out. But he hid that discovery because he couldn't believe what had happened to this young girl, what Cady had done, the horrors that he put her through. And that is the basis of this story, is in Cady's mind, he hasn't seen justice. His justice was taken away from him. Even though he undoubtedly, committed this horrific crime, he believes in his mind that his justice was taken away from him. Which in some senses it was, because Bowden didn't do his duty as a solicitor. And again, this is going back to what we think of solicitors and how we think of them. But Bowden obviously had too much of a heart invested in the case, and that was what ultimately puts Cady in prison. Now, during his time in incarceration, obviously studying the law, learning everything, he's learned about discovery. He's learned about his right to see evidence. He's learned about what should have happened. He's learned about the due process. And he's ultimately learned all of the laws leading to what could have defended him, what could have helped him, as he displays in this movie when he talks to the character of Bowden. It's fantastic how he brings out the knowledge that he has. There's a scene where they're discussing the case, and he says this and that, I could have got this, I could have got that reduced, I could have got this and that, I would have done this anyway. And Bowden can't answer him because he knows the truth. And that's what's good about this movie, and that's where it gets very, very dark. But that's only the beginning, because obviously Cady's on an absolute crusade to destroy the life of Bowden. So, this movie is absolutely fantastic in that respect. So you've got Nolte, the character of Bowden, who kind of is trying to keep all this from his family at the beginning, because obviously he's not really taking Cady seriously at the beginning, because he thinks he's in charge. It's only when Cady starts becoming more menacing and Bowden has to get the police involved, and he realises that at this point even the police can't touch him. Everything he's doing is lawful. And it gets to a point where everything he's doing is lawful and everything Bowden's doing is unlawful, all through his menacing ways and knowing the law. There's a few scenes in this which I didn't find very palatable, but it's a good movie, and I think sometimes it's necessary to show how creepy a character Cady actually is. Like the scenes involving the daughter, Juliette Lewis, and some of the scenes involving his wife, Lee, and his daughter, Danielle, were some of the scenes are so creepy that, you know, are they necessary creepy? I think it's showing what kind of character Cady is and how deranged he is and the things that he will do in order to split up Bowden's family, you know. I mean, those scenes didn't sit very well with me, but they were there, weren't they? And at the end of the day, it just showed that it put a rift between Danielle and Lee and Sam. It's all to create a rift. You know, there's a scene where Cady sneaks his way into the school and impersonates the drama teacher. And that's a horrific scene, you know. That was a scene where I was thinking, oh, this is a bit, you know, it's a bit off, this is. But again, is it natural course of the movie to turn Sam's daughter against him? Then there's one point where his wife is doing this lipstick thing in the mirror, and you see, like, she's almost excited by the worry. It's very, very odd. But again, it's making the movie tense, isn't it? The scene where the lieutenant says to Sam, doesn't he, that's breaking and entering. He says, but he didn't enter. You're just sitting on my wall outside. And the police lieutenant says, well, that's not even trespassing. But then there's a scene where he looks out the window. He looks out the window again and he's gone. It's like almost like he's a ghost. There's a scene at the beginning where he's sitting in his car. Cady's sitting in his car, and he's in a parking space with like a concrete all around it and foliage, and a bus goes past and he's gone, but with no space to have driven out, no space to reverse. So were these parts in his mind? I don't know. I don't know how to explain myself with that part, because there's parts of that I couldn't quite understand whether he was actually there or not. But they were good scenes, that I say, good music and good score and stuff like that, which made it what it was. So obviously the house is intruding all the time without him knowing, and he's doing things that make him want to report for trespass and stuff like that. But there is no trespass because they can't prove he was ever there. Like the scene where he kills the dog. He returns the dog collar, doesn't he, to the wife. Starts describing the dog to her. It's all psychological torment, isn't it? But in the eyes of the law, he just found that dog collar, didn't he? He just found it, because they couldn't prove he took the dog. They couldn't prove he killed the dog. So that was one thing that was really, really good about the movie. It had that edge of, you know, what was going on. And I mean, the fantastic scene for me in that movie is the scene where the three thugs attack Cady in the alley. And you can see how calculated he is. He literally lets them beat on him. And then he defends himself. Once he feels he's beaten on enough, he defends himself, because he knows that once he looks bad enough, again, it's going to look bad on Sam in court, isn't it? Look, he's had me beaten up. And he does, doesn't he? Everything is about letting things happen. Everything's in his control, isn't it? In Cady's control. And that's what's good about the movie. You know, the scene in the alleyway, like I say, the fight where he beats up the three thugs after they've given him a hiding, because he wants them to give him a hiding, because he knows that is going to work for him. You know, and he ends up, you know, getting a restraining order in the end against Sam, and it all starts going badly for Sam. And it all accumulates to that boat scene at the very end, which is, you know, but you see how far Cady has gone when he's buckled to the bottom of their car, you know, and all this stuff that he just, you know, when he portrays himself as the poor beaten man in court, you see him staring a hole through Sam, don't you? Saying, this is just the beginning, I'm going to keep coming for you. And, you know, even hurting his friends, isn't he? Hurting Sam's friends, you know, and getting away with it because of Sam's dodgy dealings. So the movie is really good. The scene where he gets out from under the Jeep, when he literally belts himself to the bottom of the Jeep, is absolutely brilliant because, you know, towards the end of the movie, Sam is a running fugitive, isn't he? He's running from the law. It's got so bad. But it's a great movie. It's well worth watching. The boat scene at the end is absolutely amazing to see how far Cady has gone and how evil he really is. So it's a great movie. It's a very old movie now. It's a slow movie. It's quite slow, but it's one of those movies you've got to stick with it. And, you know, there's some debate over whether who was the better, Max Cady, but who knows. I like both of them, and it was a great cast and a good film. So that's my review of Cape Fear. Thank you for tuning in, guys. It's great to have you all on board. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. Share the video because it's a sharing platform, and I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Remember, watch yourself if you're ever on a boat at Cape Fear.